And good evening and welcome to Greater Somerville for January 3rd, 2012. I'm Joe Lynch. Happy New Year to all of you. And yes, I made a quick change out of that sweater. Sorry for that technical difficulty. We are live tonight. My guest is the programming director for Scat TV's newest media venture, Boston Free Radio. He is a veteran of the radio airwaves, having worked for many years at such stations as New Hampshire Public Radio, Middlebury College Radio, and WGIR in Manchester, New Hampshire. He currently is the program director at Boston Free Radio right here at Scat TV, and he hosts his own Saturday morning music program, Morning Soup. It is my pleasure to welcome to Scat TV, he is no stranger to the studio, Doug Ashford, Program Director for Boston Free Radio. Thank you very much. They don't have those kind of glitches on radio, though, do they?
Oh, never.
Never. But they're not as obvious as what just happened. My apologies to the viewers at home. We had the holiday special plugged in to the programming schedule, and now we're live. Doug, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
As is typical our fashion here on Greater Somerville, sometimes we ask our guests to give the weather report, but I don't think we have to give it for tonight.
No need.
It's cold.
Freezing.
It is cold. So hence the kind of, protecting the old shoulders here. But thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
We've known each other for, you've been at the station for almost a year.
About a year, yeah.
Just about a year now. We've been talking about having Boston Free Radio come on the television side of Scat TV.
Right, well, I'm glad we can do it.
So it's terrific. We've talked about it, that I shouldn't say very few, I'm sure some of the viewers at home know that Somerville now has its own radio station.
Exactly.
There you go.
We've been on the air for just about a year. We started at the end of January in 2011.
Yep.
And we've been gaining lots of listeners throughout the year, so it's been terrific.
Let's keep giving the folks at home, we'll keep giving them a call. It's bostonfreeradio.com.
Right, that's the easiest way to listen to
It is an internet-only based radio station.
That's right.
Directly here from Scat TV at 90 Union Square.
That's right.
So we're going to get into it a little bit. If you will, please indulge me for 1 minute. I did learn something earlier, and I wanted to make one mention of it. To the Fillion families of the Magoon Square area in Somerville, my condolences and the condolences from all of your friends for the passing of your dad, Eugene Fillion, in December. I did not know about that until much later in December, so accept our condolences. He will be missed in the Magoon Square area. Boston Free Radio. People are going to say, oh no, not another Democracy Now! Kind of program. But I was surprised at the variety of programs that you guys now have up and running.
Right.
So tell us a little bit first about Doug Ashford and his involvement with radio and what interested you in coming down.
Sure. Well, I've been involved in radio off and on for about 30 years since college. I've worked at commercial stations, public radio stations, college radio stations, WUNB here in Boston. And when the announcement went out late in 2010 about this new project that Scat TV was beginning, I thought this is a terrific idea.
Sure.
Taking the idea of community access television and bringing it over to the radio side so that people have a voice on the internet. They have access to professional equipment at a very minimal cost. And because it's on the internet, the whole world can be listening to you.
That,
idea.
Is that terrific or what? I mean, because the internet really, what that has done is to given a voice, it's given a voice to anyone who has a computer, anyone who has a handheld device, anybody now who has a cell phone, basically.
Exactly.
So when you first started with us, it was Bill Burrell, who I mention sometimes, here on our show. Bill was the director down here of the television side, and Bill kind of was working with a lot of people to try to start this.
Right. It was really his idea. He got the equipment together and got the domain name and got the station up and running in the first few months that he was still here at Scat TV.
Yep. Yeah. So how many shows have we got at this point? I know that you were kind of inundated with a lot of people coming in when it was first advertised that we were going to have a radio station broadcast from here in Union Square.
Right.
What have we got on the queue now?
Yeah, we've got about 15 live shows that are done live here in our studio within SCAT TV. We also have a lot of pre-recorded shows, some syndicated shows that we get from other sources, but some people pre-record their shows and put them out on the air so that we can put them out late at night or over weekends when our studios are closed. So we have a wide variety of shows and different ways to transmit them.
Cool. Types of shows, what have we got?
Yeah, we've got great talk shows. We have talk shows on all sorts of subjects, from local high school sports to philosophy. We've had a show about that concerned community affairs that was done in Haitian Creole, done here locally. We had a talk show focusing on the issues of being a widow and the sorts of things you encounter when you're in that situation. Just any kind of show, whatever people want to put together for a show, they can do.
You know, a lot of are these local folks, Somerville folks that are doing this?
These are all local people. I should mention, you don't actually have to be a Somerville resident to have a show. Any Massachusetts resident is eligible to host a show on our station.
So before we get in a little deeper into the types of shows that you folks are programming into BostonFreeRadio.com. I told you, I keep saying it. So how does somebody get into it? Let's talk about the process. I mean,
sure.
Yeah.
3 or 4 times a year we have an orientation meeting. That's for people who are interested, who've heard about the station and want to find out more about it. People come to the orientation. We show a video that explains the idea behind the station and how it works. We show them the facilities, and they can see a live show as it's actually being put out on the air. And if they're interested, they can sign up for a training session so they can start to learn how to use the equipment and get ready to go on the air. We actually have an orientation meeting coming up in a few weeks on Monday, January 23rd at 8 o'clock. And that'll be
here at
right
SCAT.
here at SCAT TV.
Yeah.
So I'd encourage anybody who's interested in finding out more about the station to come by here, 90 Union Square, on Monday the 23rd. And we'll tell you more about the station.
Now, inevitably, somebody's going to say, all right, what's the hook? How much is this thing going to cost me? What's the cost?
The annual membership fee for the radio station is $60 a year, and that includes membership to SCAT TV. So if you're a Somerville resident, you also have the advantage of being able to use SCAT TV's video equipment and get discounts on their courses, along with becoming a member of the radio station.
So let's see. I wish we had two-way here, because you're going to see some people, viewers of ours cringe when I say this. So let's see. I'm already a member of SCAT TV, so I pay my annual membership for the television side of things.
Right.
So all I have to pay is a little bit more, and Joe Lynch could potentially have his own radio show.
Absolutely.
On the internet.
Right.
Reaching the world, talking about Somerville and the politicians.
Whatever you want the show to be. We absolutely encourage people to do whatever kind of show they want to do. The other nice thing about having it on the internet is we're not regulated by the FCC.
Gotcha.
So it really is a free speech forum for whatever you want to put out on the air. You can basically say whatever you want. You could play whatever you want. We have no restrictions.
In effect, Doug, for $5 a month, you get a voice that you can get across the globe.
Right.
Because it's internet-based. I have to assume, though, you do have some guidelines. Some guidelines for good taste and decorum.
Well, we as far as that goes, we really don't. We only ask that, people have to respect the station and the other members of the station, as far as harassment and taking care of the equipment and so on. But if you want to do a show about something controversial or potentially offensive to some people, you can do that. That's fine. And some shows push that limit, certainly.
Well, we've been accused of doing that here on Greater Somerville, but we've never been reprimanded, so I have to assume we're within the guidelines there. Let's talk a little bit more online radio stations versus the more traditional commercial stations that people are used to, tuning in their car, tuning on their stereos. And so how does it differ?
Well, some of the differences are obviously with traditional radio stations, there's a limited number of frequencies that are out there. So you can't have too many radio stations, and they kind of overlap each other. If you've driven around, you'll sometimes get one station
Bunch of
coming in
noise.
and out. Exactly.
Yep.
With the internet, there's potentially an infinite number of stations. So that's a big advantage. Obviously, we can reach a greater number of people with the internet, and the internet is just becoming more and more available to people.
Well, that's going to be that will be the vehicle,
Right.
to reach out.
Right, through Wi-Fi, and people can listen not just on their computers, but there are dedicated internet radios that you could buy. You can listen to our station on your cell phone. If you go to bostonfreeradio.com, you could download an app for your iPhone or your Android phone to listen to the station. So there are lots of ways to get the station. It's becoming as accessible as traditional radio is.
Who knew Somerville has their own radio station?
Yeah, it's terrific.
Yeah, yeah. What types of folks, let's go back to the programming just for a little bit. Are there kids programs? Do we have like literacy programs? I'm just interested. I've heard a few. When you first started, I went in and observed some of the shows being done. So
yeah, that's something we're interested in developing, working with youth organizations, potentially with high school students. Obviously, there has to be parental permission involved with that.
Yep.
But to get people involved on an after-school basis is something we'd really like to look into, and it's a really engaging way for kids to learn about media and get their own voice out there.
And coupling that right in with our youth coordinator down here on the television side of SCAT TV.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Terrific idea.
Yeah.
Terrific idea. Somebody asked me to ask this question, and it was about, let me see. It came in, I may not have written it down here, but it came in after we announced that you were going to be on the show on different websites in Somerville and the Boston Globe. The question was, video webcam during the radio show.
Okay.
Is that a possibility?
That's something we're looking into as well. I mean, obviously there are a lot of radio stations that do have a simultaneous video feed.
Yeah.
I guess Howard Stern probably started that, but
Howard Stern and now Greater Boston.
Greater Boston.
Emily Rooney, who ripped off our show here.
That's right, exactly.
Wink, wink. I've always said, people say to me, did you get in trouble with Emily Rooney by the name of the show? And I said, absolutely not. When I emailed her and let her know that, I was going to start this, her response to me was, good luck.
That's great.
Yeah?
That's great.
But Emily Rooney on WGBH,
Right.
WGBH Radio, I believe she does it as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's popular. It's something we're looking into. There are technical issues involved with it, obviously.
Sure. And a cost to the studio
and
down
the cost
here.
as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely something we're considering. Down the road.
Viewer, there's your answer. So. So how do we get involved? You have these initiation orientation classes, and they come in and they kind of talk to you and
right. And we have a video presentation prepared. We show them the studio, and then we set up training sessions. We have 2 or 3 training sessions per person. A lot of one-on-one. Details so they can figure out how to do things. And I should mention that Boston Free Radio is run completely by its members. There is no paid staff at the radio station. So we're all here basically on a volunteer basis, helping each other. Most of the people who start at Boston Free Radio have never done a show before. So if people are anxious about, well, I've never done anything like this before, I don't know how to use the equipment. We work with you through all that, and we'll keep working with you until you're comfortable and ready to go on the air.
Yeah. I told you I was one of the least technical people. I mean, that wasn't my glitch at the front of the show, but one of the least technical people. Once something goes out on the airwaves in bostonfreeradio.com like that, I mean, we know that our emails stay out there for infinity.
Right.
does that broadcast stay out there somewhere?
Well, it doesn't by itself, but you bring up a good point, because something that a lot of our hosts do is record their shows.
Sure.
And because they're paying royalties on the music and the content, they actually own their own shows. So hosts will put their shows up on their own websites. They'll make them available as podcasts. They can even syndicate the shows and try to sell them to other radio stations if they want to.
Gotcha.
So a lot of people at our station are doing that, and it's a really nice way to build a listenership if your older shows are out there for people to listen to.
So it's not unlike what we do here at Greater Somerville, that we broadcast live,
Right.
and then if that's all it was, we would just disappear.
Right.
But we record our shows and then upload them to our own website, and we also distribute through the media.
Right.
We
Yeah.
give that information over to the Boston Globe, the Somerville Journal, other interested websites across the city.
Right.
We've even had certain shows where we have a political luminary who represents more than just Somerville. We've had Medford pick up some of our shows. Cambridge has picked up some of our shows. So that's not unlike what you're talking about.
Right. Oh, exactly. Yeah, and there's a lot of potential for an internet radio station. I mean, for instance, if you're interested in a particular part of the world, say maybe a part of the world that doesn't have the free speech that we have here, you could host a show about affairs in that country, and people in that country can listen to it, as well as anybody else around the world. So there's a lot of things that people can do that involve the local community, but also other parts of the world as well.
Sure.
So
it's a way to communicate with folks who are resident here in this country, communicating back home.
exactly.
Rather than letter or email or,
Right.
Yeah, terrific idea.
Yeah.
Maybe we could work that out for some of the people in West Somerville. Sorry, guys. There was a joke that was made at the holiday thing about why does East Somerville get all of the holiday light trolleys and West Somerville get... Sorry, guys. Interesting. Now, Sirius Radio. Talk to me about that a little bit. I think everybody, who listens to radio kind of understood what they were trying to do with Sirius Radio. Has it
Right.
gone anywhere? I mean,
It's obviously still there. It still exists, but the idea of subscription radio it hasn't really caught on.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there's so many other options available, especially on the internet. It has its advantages, and certainly the sound quality is very good, but it will probably be around for quite a while longer. But
well, as long as Howard Stern's still pumping it, I mean,
right. I'm sure there'll be listeners. Yeah.
Where does the money come from, though, in terms of something like Sirius Radio? I mean, who funded that? Who put the seed money together for that stuff?
That's a good question. I don't actually know. I mean, it was. Yeah,
I'm not sure.
don't know.
Because I would love to know who's paying Howard's salary.
Well, that's true. Exactly. I mean, I know a lot of it is done through subscriptions. Obviously, there are commercials and everything, but
Right.
I think they really rely on subscriptions.
Unlike BostonFreeRadio.com, which is
Right.
commercial free.
Well, actually, I mean, if somebody wants to sell commercial advertising on their show, they can do that. At this point, actually, nobody has done that. So it is commercial free
Interesting
in
concept
fact.
for all of you small businesses out there in Somerville.
Right.
Yeah.
If you want to host a show, and if you want to, and if you're interested in selling advertising for your small business, we do accept advertising on shows.
Excellent.
So.
Excellent point. A cooking show may not work on radio.
Right. That
But
would be.
what you might want to talk to Doug about, or anybody else involved, is maybe a business roundtable. Economic roundtable in Somerville discussion.
Absolutely.
Monthly, bi-monthly. Chamber of Commerce.
Yes. Absolutely.
Chamber of Commerce should start their own radio talk show.
Yep. Anybody with an interest or a field of specialty should definitely start their own radio show. It's very simple to do. People who are not technical at all learn very easily. It's a real small learning curve
Yeah.
to use the equipment.
Yeah.
So,
It's a great concept. Very, very great concept. So we've talked about the training, we've talked about the cost. January 23rd, you say?
that's right, for the next orientation.
If you're interested in producing and starring in your own radio talk show or radio show, broadcast right here from SCAT TV, contact Doug Ashford.
Sure.
Contact information.
Yeah, you can just call SCAT TV at 617-628-8826.
Yep.
Or you can contact the station manager at his email address is manager@bostonfreeradio.com. His name is Gordon Nelson, and we can tell you more about the meeting that's coming up and answer any other questions you might have about the station. We're looking forward to a really big year in 2012.
I was amazed at the number of shows that you guys are putting on there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let me just make one point. Gordon, I think a lot of people know, Gordon is a full-time employee down here at SCAT TV, but you are a volunteer at the station.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. All of the staff members, all of the hosts of the show, they're all volunteers, so we're doing it for the fun of it.
Where does the funding come from to have started the radio station?
It comes from SCAT TV's budget,
Yep.
and as well as the memberships. I should mention that the $20 fee for the radio membership, that all goes to royalties for music. Whenever music is played on the radio, royalties have to be paid, and so that's what the $20 for the radio part of the membership is for. It's really being offered at the minimal cost it can be. A lot of people have started their own internet radio stations, but it costs several $100s, even thousands of dollars a year to do on your own.
Because of the music.
Because of the music, buying the equipment, and, that's why a community access model works so well, because you're sharing the costs with other people. You get professional equipment, but you're not paying for it all yourself.
Well, now you know, I've had the question asked over over 3 years now of doing this show is, why no music? You have no music up front of your show. You have no music behind your show. You have no music on your blog. Because I'm cheap. That's why. Because as you know, in any venue, whether it's commercial television, community access television, community access radio, commercial radio, every time a piece of music is played, a royalty has to be paid, either to the company that owns the rights to the music or to the artist who wrote the music.
Right.
And in some instances, both. The distributor gets a piece of the pie, so it does become an expensive proposition.
Right.
Yeah.
And obviously for a radio station which relies a lot on music, sometimes totally on music, we do have to pay the royalties, and that's what the fee goes for. But we've got a lot set up for the new year. We're getting some new equipment to make the station sound better on the air. We are developing a production studio, basically a second studio, so that people can come in, hosts can come in and pre-record their shows and put together promotional materials. So a lot is happening at Boston Free Radio, and we're hoping people will want to come out and become a part of it. It's a lot of fun, and people are really enjoying it.
And I think it's a terrific challenge for some of our musically talented folks here in Somerville. I'm going to put a challenge out there. Since I'm so cheap and don't like paying royalties to the big production companies, here's a contest that I'll announce tonight. How about you musically inclined folks out there try to come up with some music for Greater Somerville?
There you go.
And for BostonFreeRadio.com. Because
Absolutely.
you guys do your own little mini promotions.
Absolutely.
Right?
Lots of shows have their own themes, and
Our own
people
theme.
write their own music, so yes.
There's the challenge for you, a theme song for Greater Somerville and for BostonFreeRadio.com.
Absolutely.
What else have you got coming up for the rest of the year? I know you're talking about expanding, you got some more shows, you're going to have your orientation classes.
Sure, yeah, we've got a lot of plans. We're working more and more with community organizations, getting involved in outdoor events, doing remote broadcasts. We've been working with a Cambridge theater company, the Post Meridian Radio Players. They do radio dramas They've been doing it for years, but they have never been broadcast on the radio. So we've been airing their productions on Boston Free Radio.
Terrific.
And we hope to continue to work with them as well.
Absolutely terrific. I think we should have, I'm going to put the challenge out there to the Somerville viewers too. You should, think about having a talent show, a radio talent show for singers.
Mm-hmm.
No tap dancers maybe, but singers.
Sure.
Bring singers in and have them audition on the, community radio television auditions. I think it'd be a great idea. I want to thank my guest for tonight, Doug Ashford. He is the program director for Boston Free Radio, bostonfreeradio.com on the internet, broadcast right here from Somerville. Somerville does have its own television station, SCAT TV, as well as its newest venture, bostonfreeradio.com, a free internet radio station. Broadcast right here from 90 Union Square, Somerville, Mass. As always, thank you for joining us tonight. Again, my guest has been Doug Ashford, Program Director for Boston Free Radio. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.